everybody, welcome back to Bow and Arrow Garage. So I'm back on the C3 Corvette and back on the fuel tank. So today the goal is to get this thing installed permanently, and I know it's going to be pretty difficult to do. I have a few things I have to do before I can jump in there, but I have been working on it a little bit here and there, and I kind of mocked up my fuel system, my Corvette filter regulator, and so I'll show you all that in a little bit. But basically right now I had to do a little bit of a fiberglass repair in the right-hand rear wheel well. I know this car had been hit in the right rear. In previous videos you saw me kind of repairing the quarter panel a little bit, and basically the little bulkhead behind the rear tire had separated, so I epoxied that back together last night. I'm going to go in and do a little more touch up on it, and then I'm going to jump into this fuel tank. I've got other things I've got to do. I've got to mow the yard and different things today, so I'll do what I can, but I want to get in here. I want to get that fiberglass repair completed, and then I want to paint everything up, and then while the paint's drying, I'll jump out and mow the yard, and then hopefully come in later tonight and get this fuel tank installed, and it'll be installed for the for the final time. So after that, we'll get the Corvette filter regulator installed and mounted up, and then I will only have to mount the feed line from the regulator up to the engine. So anyways, with that being said, I'm going to jump into it and we'll get this thing moving. So I soldered in the this quick disconnect the other day, but I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and just extend these wires down to where they reach the bottom of the tank. That way when I figure out where I'm going to mount my fuel pump relay and everything, I'll have the additional wiring. And then I can always solder this back in, but I didn't basically want to have that up on top and have to drop the tank just in order to disconnect the wires. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut out real quick. I am also in the process of making the wires for my fuel sender. I was looking for a tan wire for my car has a tan wire for the sender, but I couldn't find any at the parts store, so I'm just going to use this orange one, and I'll just mark it. So it should be fine. Alright, so there are the sender signal and ground wires, and also the pump. Positive and ground wire. So I'm going to go ahead and get it loomed up. There is the mess. I'm going to try to go ahead and get this tank up in here, and I think the hardest part is about to come. This tank has been kind of fun, no doubt about it, but from what I understand, the most difficult thing is getting these new straps to conform to the tank. It's going to be very, very difficult. There's no question about it. So I'm just going to set up a camera and I'm just going to go to work and see what I can get done. All right, guys, I have a problem here with the with where I installed my fuel pump and the orientation of it. So my intent is to install everything and have the lines run down here and come over this indention right here, basically, and come down between the tank and the frame on the right hand side of the car. And really, honestly, to me that would have been the best way to install it, but it's not going to work with the fuel tank strap because it's got this little bracket here that basically takes up the area where the cutout is for the sump. So the alternative is to rotate it to where the one hose comes out pointing forward and the other is going to point basically right through this bracket. I didn't think that was going to work because in essence it's going to basically route my hoses around the front of the tank, and I didn't think there was going to be enough room in between the tank and this wall up here. So right up in here. And honestly, I still am not confident that there's going to be enough room. So I've tried to find other people that have installed this thing, and all I've seen is basically body off restorations, and people have the tank actually mounted to the frame before the body's installed. And I've questioned whether they were going to be able to get the body on with the fuel lines in that direction. And I still don't know that I believe that they will be able to. So I'm going to have to take a look at this and basically try to turn it around and see if I can still get my lines to come out on the side, which is what I would prefer. And I think it'll work. It's just going to be a little bit of a hassle. So I'm going to go ahead and take this thing apart and see what it looks like. So in light of the issues I'm having with my fuel pump, I'm going to go ahead and just shut it down for the night. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I've been going all day. So it's just time to shut it down. And sometimes you got to know when you've been beat. So I'm going to close up shop for the night, get everything put away. So last night I got my fuel tank installed in the C3 Corvette, and it was kind of a doozy. And I had read a lot of things in the forums before I even tried it, and a lot of people have a lot of difficulty with these things. So, but what I discovered is there's a few things that you need to know before you try to go and install these fuel tanks. What kind of compounded the issue on this is that I'm going with the EFI tank from Tanks Inc. And it has a little cutout on the right side where the fuel tank strap goes over. And the fuel tank straps are really kind of the big issue that people really struggle with. And I had a lot of difficulty just routing my my hoses and stuff from my pump around them. What I kind of want to show you is that there's a difference between the early C3 Corvette fuel tank straps and the later C3s. And so what you're going to need to do is look at your fuel tank cross member, and there are slots in it on left and right side where your fuel tank strap slides in. And you need to look and see if the slots are on the front or on the back of that cross member. And I'll show you a little better picture of what I'm talking about here in a few minutes. If they're on the front like the early C3s, the straps are a little bit shorter. If they're on the back, they're going to be a little bit longer. And that's the main thing I see people struggling with, is they say they put their tank in and their straps were either too short or too long. So, so anyways, I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But I also found another little trick to help get it installed. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you out to my parts car. You'll see some footage because I kind of mocked everything up on that. And then I'll show you exactly, you can get a better picture of the straps and the slots I'm talking about. And then I'll bring you in here and I'll kind of show you the little trick. I'm not going to take the tank back out to kind of demonstrate how it goes in. It was pretty difficult to do. And now that it's in, I'm not taking it out unless I absolutely have to. So anyways, I'll get the camera turned around. I'll take you out to the parts car and I'll show you what I'm talking about, the slots, and then I'll show you what I did on the car. So this is the fuel tank cross member. And you can see this slot here on the back is where the strap kind of pops into. And so on the later C3s, the strap goes into the back and then it wraps down underneath the cross member and then it comes out the front. On the early C3s, the slot is here in the front and it just clips under here. And so basically you can see that the strap would be a little bit shorter on the early C3s than it is on the later ones. And so you need to get with a good supplier that knows the difference between the strap lengths and make sure you get the correct one for your model of vehicle. You will see that I actually use this car to mock up my tank and mock up my straps. I had to put my cross member from my car in here. It fits perfectly, just to get the right length. But if you don't have a car to mock it up on like this, which I thank God I had this, basically what you want to do is you just want to kind of try to mimic the bends in your old straps. The next thing to do, it makes it so much easier, is put these bolts in the back and get your nut started on the bottom, and then get your tank in, put your front cross member in, and if you tilt the front cross member up, you can see that you can kind of tilt it and it'll give you room to put your strap in, and then just kind of lay it over and then get your bolts on the side. In other words, don't try to put your bolts in and then try to clip these in with the tank installed, because you're going to fight it. And that's what a lot of people do is they'll put this in, they'll put the strap on, and then they'll try to get this rear bolt lined up, and man, it's going to kick your tail. So I'll kind of take you back in on the car now, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about of kicking this cross member up, and it really does make a big difference. And so what I'm talking about, and I don't know necessarily that this will work on the later C3s with the slots here in the back where the strap comes under, but on the early C3s it was really easy, because basically with the bolts out of the cross member on both sides, basically you can just rotate this up, rotate the cross member up, and it'll give you closer access to your slots. You put your straps in, and then you rotate it back down. You can put one bolt in on one side and then just I used a number 2 Phillips screwdriver to pry the cross member back and get a bolt in and get it started. And it wasn't a whole lot of tension. So it wasn't bad at all, to be honest with you. So this is the other thing I wanted to show you, where I decided to mount my my Corvette filter regulator from the C5. So I had this old transmission mount, and basically I just used it to mount to where the spare tire hanger used to mount, and it had the perfect basically drop down here to give me room for my filter regulator to fit right up under the tank. It's pretty sturdy, and I think it's up out of the way enough to where it's not gonna hit anything. And so I just kind of mounted it in there. I used one of the slots for the transmission cross member. I drilled a hole here for the tang to sit in, and probably going to put some large area washers on it, but this is just kind of a mock-up right now. I had to get everything basically in. And then I brought my hoses around the side where you have these reliefs in the tank on the sides. You have one on top also. And so the hose just kind of routes down through that. And I put an extra hose on the outside of the Russell hose just for abrasion purposes and stuff, so that it wouldn't rub a hole in my fuel hose. So I still have a ways to go. I've got to finalize the installation of my fuel cylinder wiring and also of my fuel pump wiring. I'll have to go ahead and finish up the installation here of my filter regulator and run my feed line up to the engine. But all in all, I'm very happy with the installation. I'm thankful for the progress that I've made. I've got a ways to go, but at the end of the day, we're getting there. So we're getting there slowly but surely, but we are getting there. So that's going to be it pretty much for the fuel tank for now, and we'll move forward from here. So hey guys, the fuel tank is finally in, and that is something that I'm very thankful for. I had a lot of issues, a lot of little problems here and there, but just with some persistence and a little bit of time, we got it done. So with that being said, I'm going to end the video here, but I wanted to clarify a couple of points in the video. The first thing is that I didn't really address in the video what I did to fix the issue with the fuel feed line coming out of the pump and hitting the tank strap. And basically all I did was I was surprised to find out that O'Reilly's actually carries the twist lock fittings, and they had a 45 degree. So I was able to go over there and grab one and basically just cut the straight line off, or the straight fitting off, and put that 45 degree on, and it gave me enough clearance to get my line away from that strap. So that was really an amazing thing, and I really appreciate being able to do that, because as you know, a lot of times when you're doing a project like this, you're going to run into these issues, and I hate having to stop and order something on Amazon and wait 2 or 3 days for it to get here. So having the convenience of running over to O'Reilly's and picking it up was just an amazing thing. And the second thing is on the installation of the fuel tank straps, make sure you put the rear bolt in first, and then you can do the trick with the front cross member, and it makes it so easy to install. I read so many times people really struggling to install these straps, and trust me when I say this makes it so much easier. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider smashing that like button, and also consider subscribing to the channel. Hope to see you again soon. Thanks again and have a great night.